By morning, the tablet-shaped shadow on my desk was just dust and an outline in the lamplight. Last night, I fell asleep with screen still glowing like a small moon, new apps, a downloaded book, my own fingerprints smudged into constellations. I woke to absence. The charging cord hung like an empty leash. I checked the floor, the backpack, under the bed where lost things go to tell jokes about me. Nothing. My chest filled with that fizzy panic, that tastes like metal. I carried the cord into the kitchen like evidence in a trial I didn't remember attending. Mom was pouring coffee. Dad was already buttoned into his work shirt, the one with the name patch stitched over his heart like a reluctant caption. "Where's my tablet?" I asked, because sometimes questions open secret doors. They didn't, not this time. They looked at each other the way people do when the truth has splinters. "We gave it to Noah," Dad said, holding my gaze as if it could steady the room. For a heartbeat, I was soundless, like a video on pause. "You gave my newly purchased tablet to my friend?" The word friend did strange things in my throat. Mom folded her hands. Her wedding band flashed a nervous Morse code. "It made sense," she said carefully. "He starts that design program this week. His laptop died. You've still got the old tablet." I pictured the old one. Cracked corner, tired battery, a sigh for a startup sound. I also pictured Noah, whose jokes arrive before he does, who helped me carry boxes when we moved and never asked why the boxes were labeled just with rooms and not with hopes. Heat rose into my face, quick and uninvited. "You didn't ask me," I said. It came out flat, a paper cut of the sentence, small but stinging. Dad rubbed his forehead like the truth was a stain he could work out with pressure. "We should have," he admitted. "We thought we were saving time, sparing you a decision." Mom slid a plate toward me. Toast, butter melting like surrender. "He'll bring it back when his replacement arrives," she offered. "Temporary, like a bandage you keep on too long." I saw my own reflection in the microwave door, older than yesterday. Somehow, in my pocket, my phone vibrated. A message from Noah. 3 words, no punctuation. "Can we talk?" The timing made the kitchen tilt. I set the cord on the table between us like a border. "I'm going to school," I said, voice steadying around the edges. "And after, I'm going to Noah's." Neither of them stopped me. Sometimes permission sounds exactly like silence. Noah's house has the kind of porch that always looks mid-conversation. 2 chairs angled just so, a plant trying its best. I walked there faster than my thoughts could arrange themselves. His mom opened the door and hugged me with the same shoulder squeeze she's used since we were small, then called him down the hall. Noah appeared with a tablet in his hands like it was a fragile animal. "No case. My case." He offered it without a smile. "I was going to text before you woke up," he said. "Your parents came by late. They insisted." The word insisted clicked like a latch. I didn't reach for it. I wanted to, but I didn't. We went to the dining room, where the table has seen every version of our homework and heartbreak. He set the tablet down between us. The screen lit to my last page, a half-finished sketch of city that doesn't exist yet. Something in me bristled. Privacy, pride. Pick one. "You could have said no," I told him, keeping my voice on a leash. He nodded, then shook his head, a contradiction in human form. "I tried," he said. "Your dad said you'd understand, that you'd call me later." My laptop died for real, like smoking goodbye. Orientation is tomorrow. If I miss it, the slot goes to someone else. He rubbed his palms on his jeans, leaving comet tails of anxiety. I panicked. I stared at the sketch on the screen, my buildings holding their breath, waiting for a sky I hadn't drawn in. "You know I saved for this," I said. "Mowing lawns, tutoring, eating the cheap noodles instead of the good ones, that kind of saving." He nodded again, guilt gathering like weather in his eyes. "I know," he said. "And I know you know this program is the first thing that's felt like a door for me in months. We are always borrowing each other's metaphors." I watched him stand in the doorway in my mind. I watched myself on the other side, hand on the knob, unwilling to twist. He slid a folded paper toward me, a printout of the program schedule, the loaner policy, a note from the coordinator scrawled at the bottom. "Bring any device you can. We'll make it work." He swallowed. "I didn't want to take it," he said softly. "I wanted to ask." We sat with that unasked question between us until it cooled enough to touch. Finally, I exhaled what I'd been holding since the kitchen. You can borrow it, I said, until Friday. Every evening it comes back to me. We sync. Non-negotiable. His shoulders dropped. Deal. I picked up the tablet, locked it, then unlocked it again. An act of faith I could feel in my fingertips. And you're buying the case if this one scuffs. He almost smiled. Obviously. Outside, a bus side. Inside, we try to breathe in time with it. At school, the day moved like wet paint. Slow, sticky, everything leaving fingerprints. In history, I stared through a slideshow about dead empires and thought about living boundaries. Every notification on my phone sounded like a hinge creaking. When the final bell spit us out, I headed to campus where Noah's orientation lab was open early. He was already there, shoulders hunched, face lit by the tablet's glow. I slid into the seat next to him. Timer starts now. I said, tapping the corner, my way of saying I was here, but not surrendering. He nodded, eyes grateful and frantic. I watched him sign into software that cost 3 months of my chores and 2 of his paychecks. Watched his hand steady as the interface greeted him like it knew his name. For a while, we didn't need words. He sketched. I watched. Then I sketched and he watched. Our lines shared the same grammar. At one point, a jolt. Someone bumped the table and the tablet wobbled. Noah's hand shot out. Mine too. We caught it together. Palms met on glass. And for a second, I thought of the screen as a heart we were CPRNG back to life. Case tonight, he whispered. Tonight, I agreed. At 7:40, I packed it up, and he didn't argue. Outside the lab doors, he said, thank you. Not like people say when you pass the salt, but like a person who didn't eat yesterday. Back home, the kitchen light was on like a stage waiting for actors who are late. My parents sat with their hands wrapped around mugs that had gone cold, rehearsing the apology. Dad started. We didn't give it away, he said, voice rough. We loaned it without asking. That's not better. It's just accurate. Mom pushed an envelope toward me. Receipts, the financing plan, my signed copy of the purchase agreement. You saved most of it, she said, eyes wet. We covered the last bit on store credit. 2 months ago, when your dad's wrist blew up and the ER bill landed, Noah's mom paid our copay without blinking. We told her we'd pay her back. Yesterday she called, crying. The program said tomorrow or never. She took a breath. We paid back the wrong way. We tried to be generous with your thing. That's not generosity. That's theft with intentions. The word landed. Ugly, true. I sat with it until the edges dulled. You should have told me about the ER bill. I said. Dad flinched. I should have told you a lot of things, he admitted. Like how proud I was when you walked in with that tablet, and your face looked exactly like 10-year-old you who built a city out of shoe boxes. He shrugged, helpless and human. I panicked. I thought good deeds passed through houses like extension cords. I forgot they can also be conversations. I set the tablet on the table. The cord beside it, the evidence, and the repair. Here's the deal, I said, hearing my own voice grow a spine. No more loans without asking. Noah gets evenings at the lab with me, not my hardware alone. We buy him a case tonight. When his laptop comes, the extension cord unplugs. Mom nodded so hard the mug clicked. Dad finally breathed. Somewhere in the house the heater kicked on, a low animal settling. We were not done, but we were at last in the same room. We drove to the strip mall where neon signs pretend to be stars. The tech store buzzed with a hum of fluorescent certainty. Noah met us there, hands in his pockets, eyes bouncing between me and the wall of cases like he was trying to pick the right apology to wear. We went practical, shockproof, Matt, the kind of case that looks boring until it saves your life. Dad insisted on paying. For the mistake, he said, tapping his car like a gavel. Noah's mom arrived breathless, hair in a clip, gratitude spilling out her sentences. You saved him, she kept saying. The program, he's in because of you. I shook my head. He's in because he did the work. We're just logistics. It felt good to be precise. Back at the lab, we snapped the case on with that crisp click. That means something is officially protected. The instructor, a woman with ink on her fingers and joy lines by her eyes, circled our table. You two collaborating? She asked. Borrowing, Noah said. Returning, I added. She grinned. That's how studios work. Things move, but accountability stays put. She leaned over the screen. Nice line weight, she told Noah, then to me. You've got composition instincts. Don't hide them behind generosity. I felt seen and a little called out. At 7:40, the ritual repeated. I slid the tablet into my bag. Noah exhaled. We bumped shoulders the way kids do when words are too big. At home, dinner was pasta that forgives everyone. Mom set an extra place out of habit. Dad left the chair empty on purpose, a reminder that we could choose not to fill spaces with assumptions. We talked bills, real numbers, not the fuzzy math of pride. They showed me the ER statement, the copay Noah's mom had floated. I showed them my savings goals, the spreadsheet titled Tiny Steps, Big Toys. We wrote a house rule on a sticky note and slapped it on the fridge. Ask before you pass. It looked small and yellow and insufficient, but I could feel in the way our voices stopped tripping over each other. After dishes, Dad handed me a screwdriver and pointed to the cabinet door that always sagged. Fix something small, he said. It helps when the big things feel wobbly. He was right. Later in my room, I opened the tablet and the city on my screen exhaled like it had been holding its breath with me. I added a bridge, nothing grandiose, just a clean span connecting two stubborn shores. In the reflection, I saw my face steadier, not because I'd won, but because I'd chosen the right fight. A notification blinked. Noah, a photo of his first render with a caption. I finally see it. I typed back me to, the case's new rubber edge caught the lamplight, dull and reassuring. For the first time since the empty outline on my desk, I wasn't counting losses. I was tracing connections. Friday arrived wrapped in cardboard and barcodes. Noah texted at noon. It's here. After school, I biked to his place. Wind in my jacket, something lighter in my chest in relief. The new laptop sat on his dining table, like a promise finally on time. We did the unboxing together. Peel, lift, click, like a secular ritual. He powered it up. It purred awake. For a second, he didn't touch the tablet. We both looked at it. The case scuffed once at the corner where a week had tried its best and failed to be cruel. He set his hand on it, then withdrew. Thank you, he said, voice steady. Not just for the loan, for the line you drew. He slid it back to me. The weight felt right, familiar but new, like a return book with notes that made the story better. Back home, the kitchen was loud with good noise. Pots clanging, radio low, my parents moving around each other like they practiced. I set the tablet on the table and told them about the laptop, the way Noah's mom cried laugh when it booted, the group chat that exploded with welcome aboard. Dad wiped his hands and leaned on the counter. This week, he said, taught me that generosity without consent is just ego in costume. Mom squeezed my shoulder. And that secrecy breeds emergency, she added. We checked the sticky note rule on the fridge, ask before you pass, and added a second beneath it. Name the cost, share the choice. Small squares, big changes. That night, I opened my city again. The bridge I'd drawn the night, before looked sturdier in the morning after the mind. I added streetlights, pools of gentler brightness where people could gather without guessing. I placed a public square and wrote, in a corner only I would ever see, equipment moves, accountability stays. Notifications pinged. Noah's latest render, cleaner lines, braver shadows. My instructor's email about a local contest. A budget spreadsheet update from Mom with a note. We can cover the ER in 6 months if we shave the subscription we never use. I smiled. Fix something small. Fix the next thing. Keep fixing. On Saturday, we went back to the lab. Not because we had to, but because we'd learned how to turn obligation into practice. Noah worked on his project. I worked on mine. We borrowed each other's eyes, not each other's gear. When we left, the case thudded softly in my backpack, the rubber edge a quiet drumbeat. At home, Dad handed me a screwdriver without words. The cabinet door hung straight when we finished. Later, as the tablet charged on my desk, the empty outline where it had been a week ago was barely visible. I traced it once with fingertip, a reminder of how quickly absence can teach you presence. Then I shut off the lamp. In the dark, I could still see the city, bridges lit, square busy, boundaries clear, and I knew exactly which part one was building next. The contest results came on a quiet Sunday afternoon. No fanfare, no trumpet, just a notification tucked between reminders and ads. I didn't win. I didn't even place. But when I opened the judge's notes, one line stopped me cold. There's honesty in these lines. Someone who's learned the architecture of listening. I stared at it for a while, then looked at my reflection in the tablet screen. It was me, but steadier, less built from anger and more from practice. That evening, Noah and I biked down to the river. The bridge lights flickered on in order, one by one. A human heartbeat translated into electricity. "You think we're going to keep talking after all this?" he asked. "If we don't, we just wasted a really good lesson," I said. He laughed. "Yeah, expensive too." We sat there long after the streetlights gave up trying to count us as kids. The night air felt like something earned. When I got home, Mom was fixing the sticky drawer and humming under her breath. Dad had a podcast playing, one earbud shared between them. I set the tablet on the counter, the same spot where the toast had once been, and just listened. No missing outlines this time. Just a quiet choreography of people who finally knew how to check before moving things that weren't theirs. Before bed, I opened my city again, the one I'd been building all this time. I zoomed out until I could see everything. Bridges, streets, windows, the square. It looked lived in. Imperfect human. I added a small plaque to one of the buildings and typed 3 words beneath it. Nothing missing now. Then I closed the app and let the screen go dark, a kind of full circle that felt like light.